Ever since the world has started witnessing the aftermath of Ukraine and Russia war, there are economic meltdowns recorded everywhere in the world. Pew has recently had a survey of 44 economies of the world. All of these economies were under crisis, but the country that tops the bar chart with regards to inflation was Turkey. According to Pew, the recorded inflation rate of Turkey is more than 50%. But digging it down, the results are even more horrifying. The food prices have sharply risen to 91.6% at a year. The transportation cost has risen to 107%. Turkey has remained in heart of economic crisis, and with recently falling in real estate, its economic miseries have actually aggravated. Our team has prepared a package. Watch the package before I bring my guest to this part of my program.
Turkey is weathering an unprecedented financial crisis as the country is now struggling with rocketing inflation, which officially stands at 23-year high. The inflation rate is currently the highest of any nation in the G20 and the sixth highest in the world, behind countries such as Syria, which is still in the midst of civil war, and Venezuela. The lira slide, war in Ukraine, and surging energy prices pushed Turkish annual consumer price inflation to its highest level since 1998. In May, the official Turkish Statistics Institute established the inflation rate at 73.5%, the highest in the country since 1998, and the food prices in the country of 84 million rose 91.6% year on year, the country's statistics agency reported. Recently, the country's trade balance deficit climbed to $25.71 billion. At the same time, its currency has continued to plummet in value. This year alone, it has dropped 23% against the dollar in fewer than 6 months. Last year, it lost 44%. Turkey's economy was experiencing turbulent times long before Russia invaded Ukraine, but since February, it has descended into deepening crisis. Spiraling inflation has catalyzed government's efforts to radically overhaul the Turkish economy, such as there have also been frequent changes in key personnel at the central bank, and Turkey has now had 4 central bank chiefs in 3 years.
To talk about Turkey's economic challenges, I am joined by a Turkish economist who is joining me from the beautiful city of Istanbul. My guest is Dr. Bilal Bagast. He is an academic expert as well as a renowned economist of Turkey. Dr. Bilal Bagast, I welcome you to the program.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
We in this part of the world are quite concerned about the developments that we are hearing about Turkey. And most important, and on top of every other issue, is the issue of Turkish lira that has lost its value phenomenally. Tell us about the currency crisis that Turkey is facing at the moment.
Well, to understand this movement in exchange rate, you have to understand the global financial risk factors first. There is this trend of monetary policy divergence across the globe, both between the emerging market and the developing economies, and also between the developing economies. So strong US dollar is reality. The dollar index is at its 20-year high, above 104. And the pandemic-related supply and demand imbalances, the energy and food price surge, the war in Ukraine, these are all critical global risk factors that we should count in first. And all these factors, they are affecting relatively more fragile economies in terms of exposure to speculative attacks, manipulative actions, financial shocks. And those that need more external finances, they are affected even more. So energy imports, the current account deficit, they are the main weakness or shortfall of the Turkish economy. Current account deficit, I would say, is the mother of all evil for the Turkish economy, Turkish financial system. Current account deficit, it was down by 58% in 2021, down from 36 billion in 2020 to about 15 billion US dollar in 2021. And current account deficit, excluding gold and energy imports, it's still in good shape actually in Turkey. It's in positive figures. The current account deficit in the first 4 months of 2022, it is again rising. It's about 26 billion year on year. And energy imports, they are critical in current account deficits, and empirical academic literature shows that, for example, a 10% $10 rise in crude oil prices, it increases current account deficit by 4 to 5 billion US dollar in Turkey. So this is what we're facing in Turkey nowadays. And current account deficit, external finance needs, they remain a huge issue to be resolved for the Turkish financial system. That, in particular, the dollar-denominated external private sector debt, it's an issue. But Turkey is a market economy, and except a few macro financial regulations, there are no bans on dollar-denominated borrowing. And you also need to take a step back and see the big picture. So Turkey has recently had a relatively independent political and economic stance. In terms of the financial woes, I would say the huge amount of portfolio investments, they cause huge financial instabilities for countries like Turkey. And Turkey is, in the meantime, aiming to resolve its long-term financial fragility, vulnerability issues in a relatively shorter time period. It is aiming to achieve rather longer-term goals in a relatively shorter time period, just as in the current account deficit case. And this, of course, it is becoming costly. So it's much more costly. So we will, I would say, overall either rise again as a much more powerful regional economic and global political center of gravity, or we may also face another financial crisis. And I will see the first
Dr. Bilal,
option
Dr.
more
Bilal,
likely.
if I can intervene, Dr. Bilal, if I can intervene, the issues that you have listed down, and let me repeat this. You said this is because of food crisis that we have. You also mentioned that the import of energy has become exacerbatingly expensive, and the global meltdown that you referred are the issues that are affecting almost every other economy in the world. There are hardly any economies that are exempted. But still, according to the Pew survey that has been conducted on top 44 economies of the world, Turkey is the one that has taken the worst brunt of inflation. And Turkey's inflation rate at the moment is highest among the other top economies of the world. So what are specific issues Turkey believe have affected Turkey's economy that have resulted in such an unprecedented high rate of inflation that has broken the record of last 23 years of your economic history?
Well, I would say current account deficit and external finance needs, they are a bigger issue in Turkey compared to the other countries. So inflation itself, yes, it is extremely high, the highest since 1998. And it's part of the devil's triangle alongside interest rates and exchange rates. It's a critical factor in financial instability. So we have inflation all over the world, but just as you pointed out, it is relatively higher in Turkey. So in addition to all other post-pandemic supply chain war in Ukraine-related issues, food and energy price surge, supply shocks, even the unprecedented QE policies, quantitative easing policies. In Turkey, we have these continuous cycle of higher inflation expectations, just as in the self-fulfilling prophecy or self-fulfilling expectations cases, as the macro literature talks about. And the exchange rate volatilities, rise of migration waves, they are also critical factors. And relatively huge demand due to the young population in Turkey, the external demand and migration waves, but the weak and insufficient supply, they all lead to this imbalance between supply and demand in any market, and these would lead to the price increases, high inflations. But overall, I would say the main factor is the supply shocks that we mentioned that are going on all over the world.
Dr. Bilal, but many experts in this part of the world, we have done many programs on Turkey before as well, but our local experts are of the view that primarily the crisis, the economic crisis that Turkey is facing at the moment, are driven out of the bad relationship between the United States and Turkey, a phenomena that is giving birth to many of Turkey's economic crisis. How far would you agree with this statement?
Between Turkey and the U.S., yes, there are certainly certain political disagreements in some regional issues, including the northern Syria, northern Cyprus, even in the Sea of Islands with the Greece. But the longer-term political alliance and strategic partnership, I would say, they will surely win over these shorter-term political disagreements. And looking forward, I'm definitely optimistic that these issues they will be resolved. But it is definitely one of the factors that's leading to one of the negative factors contributing to these negative figures.
Dr. Bilal, this factor has played a pivotal role in pushing a country like Turkey to the Fatif grey listing, something we could not imagine because Turkey is one of the most thriving economies of Eastern Europe. So don't you think that the Fatif grey listing has also badly affected particularly the inflow of portfolio investment that you were initially talking about?
It is definitely negatively affecting the portfolio investments, but I would say we should be more concerned about the foreign direct investment rather than portfolio investments, or as they call it, the hot money. So we should focus more on the ways to bring in the longer term foreign direct investment. And in the big picture, I would say the mismanagement of financial liberalization of the post 1990s that led to higher interest rates and current account deficits in Turkey. That was beginning of the financial problems in Turkey. So we should rather focus on longer term foreign direct investment inflows and just try to avoid the shorter term portfolio inflows.
And Dr. Bilal, Turkey has recently taken a stand on the issue of Finland and Sweden's inclusion on NATO. This is also something that is not taken very positively by the rest of the West. What are your views on that?
But Turkey is certainly not rejecting NATO's expansion, but it's mainly opposing Finland and Sweden's NATO membership. And this is itself due to the security concerns regarding NATO allies' fight against terrorism and the perception in Turkey that Finland and Sweden, they are harboring terrorist organizations, individuals, and that the Scandinavian countries, they are transforming into a nesting ground for terrorism. So Ankara's geopolitical value and increasing importance of NATO, I would say it will force both sides to find a rightful solution, and it should not be expected to take much long.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bilal Vagis, for being guest in our program.
Thank you. Thanks for the invite.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Istanbul, Turkey, or Turkey, this was Dr. Bilal Vagis, and he made some very pertinent points. One of his important points is that despite the fact that every country is struggling with the current economic meltdown that is affecting all other economies in the world, the crisis for Turkey are particularly exacerbating given its current economic model and given its current economic situation. Also the fact that he is concerned, like many other economists, about the inflow of foreign direct investment to his country, which will be haunted by the grey listing of Turkey in the Fatif. And devaluation, that is one of the major issues Turkey is facing at the moment, is one of the primary factors that stop foreign direct investment to come in any country. So for all the economies that are particularly concerned with devaluation, it is very important to overcome this challenge and to welcome foreign direct investment to their